Well, there's good news and there's bad news. He said, what do you want to hear first? I said, well, give me the bad news. He said, all right. He said, number one, we have to remove your stomach and esophagus. But if you survive the operation and survive the chemotherapy, we'll put a tube in and you use a blender to now as your stomach. They'll grind up all your food, and people that do that seem to live longer. I said, well, the good news? He said, well, that's the good news. I said, well, what's chemotherapy? And he looked at me, and without batting an eye, instantly he said, it's FDA approved. Now that just wasn't the right thing to say to me. I mean, he's an MD, he's not going to use anything that isn't. So I tried to get out of him what chemotherapy truly was. He wouldn't tell me, so I wanted to see it. I demanded to see it, because you see, being a youngster on an Indian reserve going to God's banquet table, I learned to see color coming out of people. I see the color around your body. It's beautiful. And I wanted to see this stuff. I wanted to see that if it was a color maybe that would match mine. It looked terrible. And I turned the bag around. I didn't turn it around, the attendant turned it around, and there was a red skull and crossbones on the back of the bag, and the statement said, under no circumstances, even when this bag is empty, must it be cut open, death can ensue. You mean you're going to pump all this stuff into me and then what's left will kill you? And I said, you know, I said, the address here is Missouri. I said, I'm going to Missouri. I walked out, walked right down, spent the $1,000 for a ticket to Missouri, and they wouldn't let me in the chemotherapy plant. I had to hire an attorney. There was a lot of kerfuffle. I finally got in. It cost me quite a bit of money to get into that plant. They were very nice. I got a full, complete rundown on chemotherapy. I have the chemical makeup of chemotherapy. They gave it to me. And I walked out with my attorney. It was all done and said. We left, and guess what? I was no further ahead because I'm not a chemist. I don't know what this chemical breakdown is. So I went to a compounding pharmacy knowing that they had a chemist in staff. And the man looked at it, and he looked at me and frowned and said, well, this is part of the war division, the chemical department of the armed forces. Well, it's right here in Missouri as well. Why don't you just go over there and ask them if this is what I think it is, mustard gas? And it kind of really bothered me that I'd been so stubborn and I'd have gone ahead and done this, and now I found out that we're going to pump mustard gas into my body, and they told me I was going to die if I didn't do this. The only thing that was in it was water. They'd mixed it up or something, and